Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Today I'm going to stop beating around the bush and procrastinating and start talking about the changes I've made to my homebrew D&D game since the last bunch of changes I made about a year or so ago. So today I'm going to talk about the classes and what I've done with that. And I am, as I said, using something like BX as more of a platform than like something like First Edition. And I've also kind of come to the conclusion, playing that I really like the 4 core classes of D&D, so that's what I'm going to end up using. So we're talking the Cleric, the Fighter, the Magic User, and the Thief, which could also be called a Rogue. There's really no good name for this class. I like the name Specialist from Lamentations of the Flame Princess after not liking it initially, because the idea, just like in 2nd edition on, you can kind of pick your skills that you want to excel in, or just be well-rounded if you'd like, by putting points or whatever you want to call them into various skills. So some guy could be really good at sneaking, some guy could be really good at finding and disabling traps, all that kind of stuff, so they can specialize in stuff. You could almost call them just adventurer. I don't think there's really a good name for this class. But why the 4 core? Why not all these other nifty classes like Paladins and Rangers and Druids and everything? Well, first off, with Druids, I've just never been able to really come up with a good idea why these people would be out adventuring in the first place. You can certainly wash some Druid spells into the Cleric classes and have some more Druidic nature type Clerics if you like. But I don't see why these guys would be, out of their groves and forests and everything like that, and their little secret cults. So I kind of like to use those more as NPCs for the most part. In terms of like all the fighter subclasses, things like Paladins and Rangers are a little bit overpowered compared to fighters, and of course you need high ability scores to qualify for those classes. But I think those high ability scores by themselves kind of set you, a cut above the average fighter, if you will. So why should you get all these other powers? I really kind of like what they did in Dark Dungeons, and I think BCMI, predates that, with the idea that, at name level, at 9th level, you can become a paladin if you kind of led a certain kind of life. And that's kind of the thing that you earn, so I like that motif a lot better. As far as things like Barbarians, why should a Barbarian, because you wear, like, furs and eat raw meat, why should you all of a sudden get really good at fighting when you're really mad? And, for me, it's more how you play the character. So I kind of, threw a lot of those out. As far as things like illusionists or specialist wizards, I'm not so into that. I'd rather just wash the illusionist type spells into the magic user list and have a magic user, if he wants to specialize, go ahead and learn and use various signature spells. And as far as things like assassins, I've done some stuff where thieves can be really good at assassinating people if they choose to go in that skill direction. So kind of getting rid of that class and just, you're an assassin because you kill people, not because you have a certain class. As far as monks go, that's one thing I'm a little bit torn on, and I was kind of working on the idea of maybe having some sort of monkish, class that's really good at fighting unarmed. Nothing super powered, but it's never been a class that really grabbed me either. Don't get me started on bards. I'm just not going to use them, and leave it at that. The XP tables I'm going to use are from Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and I kind of raved about those when I reviewed that game. And I'm not sure if he made those up or stole them from someplace else, but I'm going to steal them now. And they're really, what I really like about them is the ratio of XP remains the same the whole way up. So the ratio that a fighter needs compared to a magic user stays the same their entire career, and doesn't do all these little wonky backflips that it does in basic and first edition and what have you. It's not unified XP. If a fighter needs 2,000 XP to go up to 2nd level, a cleric now needs 1,750 instead of 1,500, so the gap is a little bit tighter. A magic user needs 2,250 instead of 2,500, so it's tighter on that end as well. And the thief needs 1,500 as opposed to like 1,200 or 1,250 like you would in basic and first edition. So it's not unified, but it's tighter gaps, and those ratios remain the same. They double. So like if a fighter needs 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 16, 32, 64, etc., all the way up until 9th level. From 9th level on, he needs the same amount of XP it took him to get from 8th level to 9th level to get to 10th and 11th and etc., all the way up to 20th. So that's what I'm going to use, but those ratios remain the same, and I really, really like that. As far as races are concerned, I don't like race as class, so I'm going to let you be, whatever class you want to be if you're a particular race, with a caveat that in any given campaign setting, not as part of the framework of rules, but in a campaign setting, it might be really unusual, say, for classically dwarves to be magic users, so you might be a little ostracized. You might have to have a really good intelligence score to be able to do that in the first place, and you're not going to be the typical dwarf. With clerics and elves, elves may be more druidic in nature in general, so it's going to be a little odd for an elf to be a cleric of a particular god and go out adventuring, that sort of thing. But it's not impossible. I don't want to be a jerk about it. But I think overall, your characters are differentiated a lot more by how you play them than by saying, oh, I'm a barbarian or a ranger or something like that. If you want to be a barbarian, go ahead and be a barbarian. Wear furs and eat raw meat. But I don't think you need to have a special class to do that. Yeah, that's just me, because I think you can differentiate yourself. I've played a ton of fighters and a ton of wizards and etc. And even if they had identical scores, I played them very differently. And I've had the evil scheming wizard and the nice beneficent wizard that specializes in different kinds of magic because he likes those kind of magic. And fighters, you can do whatever the heck you want with them. They can be the noble guy, they can be the real down and dirty guy, they can be all sorts of stuff like that. So I think you differentiate your class and your character by how you play them. And so I'm all into the 4 core, so let's hear it for the 4 core.